Liz Truss is in America. She was there for that big UN summit. She was in New York. And there's been a suggestion, there was a suggestion from Liz Truss that Liz Truss is not overly keen on the term special relationship, apparently, and the White House has offered to suspend the use of it. Yeah, in his first meeting with the Prime Minister on Wednesday, Joe Biden, US President, of course, instead told Liz Truss that you're our closest ally in the world. But the term special relationship was absent from Liz Truss's sit down with Mr. Biden, head of the pair meeting at the United Nations in New York, as I say, on Wednesday. And that's really interesting because, you know what, however you might have felt about Donald Trump as president for the Republican Party, he did seem to appear to want to have a close tie with the UK. You know, he visited here, I want to say, at least on 2 occasions, right? He had that state visit meeting the Queen. And, you know, he was close with Boris Johnson. In fact, he put a lot of pressure on Johnson to cut ties with China, and it turned out to be a very positive thing to do. However, one thing that does seem to appear to be the case when it comes to Joe Biden is that he does not seem to think that we do have a special relationship with him. Let's speak to Erol Morkoc. He's from Republicans overseas. Excuse me, Erol Morkoc. Excuse me, Erol. Thank you so much. I know you've been waiting a little while. Thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. Yeah, what's going on with Joe Biden? We don't have a special relationship. What's going on?
Well, unfortunately, President Biden has a history of sort of not being in charge of his own policy. So we can look back at the Obama presidency where Mr. Obama said that if the UK left the EU, they would go to the back of the queue. This is a continuation of that. Famously, Mr. Biden quipped at the BBC when they asked for a comment. He said, "I'm Irish," and walked away. You don't have a natural friend in Mr. Biden. You did have a natural friend in President Trump. Keep in mind, President Trump's mother was born in Fife. So at one point, she was technically a subject of your late queen. You know, so you have, if anything, this is a sectarian problem of U.S. presidencies almost that has journeyed across the Atlantic, and is almost an indicative example of how much outsized influence the UK has had over 300 years, that this is still up for debate. But when you look at the core of it, it becomes very concerning to our economies because we have a nearly parity trade balance. We get about $65 billion of goods from you. We send you about $70 billion, and these are pharmaceuticals, these are cars, these are petroleum products, these are jobs, these are pensions. These are things that Mr. Trump and really wanted for both of our economies. And our German and our French allies, who the right or the Democrats have pivoted towards, don't show us that kind of trade fairness. So it starts to be questionable because the Trump administration wanted to boost the Anglo-American alliance that defeated the Nazis, that defeated the pestilence of international communism. And now we're back to where we started. It's a back of the queue situation, and you don't have a friend in Joe Biden, which is a shame for us. And I want to apologize because he doesn't speak for the majority of our country who sees the Anglo-American alliance as paramount to the Western canon. And so all of this is just concerning, more of the same, and sadly, not a surprise to hear from that administration. I will take a moment to give them a brief moment of credit, and they said they were kind of kidding, but, there's truth behind every joke, and it's very concerning to us. Now, in November, when we have our midterms, I'm confident to tell your viewers that you will have a much more pro-UK government, and that's where those trade deals come from. The president isn't a king. We didn't have King Trump. He wanted the deal, but it was going to have to be Congress and who has the purse strings. So once we win back the House, actually, you might find that there's a special relationship with the people who actually control the trade relationship.
Okay.
But, that's on us to win that back for us.
No, indeed. I mean, we all talk about trade and indeed what this could potentially mean for the UK, as Liz Truss is very keen to try and build on trade as we've left the EU. I have to, just going back to Donald Trump and his relationship with the UK. Okay, so indeed, I was very, very aware that he was more willing to do some form of trade with the UK. I have to say how much he could have done, that's open, that's still left to debate. But was it necessarily a positive that Trump did have this connection with the UK, wanted to have this connection with the UK, when actually there wasn't some people that were very keen on Donald Trump. I can't remember many US presidents who would visit the UK, and there would be protests and demonstrations against that. I mean, other parts of the country like China, but not other parts of the world, sorry, like China. But I haven't seen a US president where people would come out en masse to protest against a president.
Well, it's a very good and interesting point. Now, I'm not sure the Chinese would let anybody come out and protest for anything, but in the UK sense, it was surprising to us to see that. I was actually there for the state visit, and it was, I was doing a lot of media, and you had, people out there from all sorts of different things protesting policies that didn't even seem like they were Trumpian policies. So I do concede that point. However, because of his special connection that he personally had, he brought a message that nationalism does not mean isolationism. And that's the same thing that can be true for the UK as it meant for the US. Multinational agreements are oftentimes vastly in favor of the superior partner, which would be the United States in this situation. The American globalists don't want to be friendly. They want economic subjects and subordinates. And, Donald Trump came over there with a message of friendship. And so to be rebuffed on that, it was a little bit tough for us because, we look at the Democrat Party as an anti-British, anti-free trade, or global-minded policy that wants to deal with multinational blocs where they can sort of run ramshot over the little guy. And they don't want to make bilateral agreements because they have to be more equitable and more fair.
Erol Morkoc, I'm so sorry. I underestimated the time. We have to end it there. So we're going to a break. Darn, I want to talk about trade, but you did make some very, very, very good and valid points in regards to our relationship with the Republicans and the UK and trade. After the break, we're talking sport. See you in a bit.